Hi, thanks for dialing in. Thanks for clicking your mouse to have a look at some of the things that we'd like to share with you about our last 12 months at Haven Home Safe. It's been a wild ride, as is often the way when you're an organisation that has continued to grow somewhat meteorically year on year for now 20 years in a row. It sort of also says something about the demand and the need for the services that we offer, the services that we put in front of people, the services that we try and arrange for people to choose from to help themselves eliminate the causes of their crisis, and in particular homelessness. It's a tough call in the modern world to end up homeless and try and dig yourself out. In fact, it's nigh on impossible, and that's why services like us not only need to exist, but need to continue to grow and change our service offering and change the way we do business as society and the economy itself changes. It's been a huge year for us. I think I'd like to start off, however, about talking about some of the metrics that are important in organisations. In Australia, broadly speaking, we have an engaged workforce, survey after survey tells us, of about 20%. What that means is about 20% of people love their jobs. They love the work that they're doing. They love to be doing what occupies their mind from 9 to 5 on Monday to Friday or whatever their hours are. We do these surveys too. We know that about 20% of the Australian workforce is engaged. We know that about 30% of the workforce is not engaged. And the difference in the middle is essentially people are just completely ambivalent about the work they do, or they're actively looking for other jobs. These are not particularly great statistics, but they are the rule across most industry sectors in Australia. When we measure staff satisfaction, staff engagement, we find that 98.5% of our staff tick the engaged box. And that's ticking that box after we put the definition of what staff engagement is in front of them, and we give them a Likert scale to choose from would you consider yourself to be disengaged right through to highly engaged. These are outstanding results. This tells me that we've got most of the metrics and most of the settings right. We have a modest staff turnover in our organisation. It's under 15%. We shoot to keep it above 10% and under 15%. Some turnover in your workforce is important, but too much turnover is expensive. And it's expensive not just in training new people, but it's expensive because it means we have people who are new, who are not yet on top of their game, who might miss opportunities to help people. And we're in the business of helping people. So some of the big things that have happened this year, we kicked off the year really in terms of the big things with the announcement this time last year that we were proceeding with the Sydney Myer Haven project. We've continued to work up the program development of that project, and we've continued to work up the project development. And we have now, by the time you're watching this, we'll have slabs on the ground, frames going up, and we'll be just moments away from officially launching the site itself, and it will be a hive of activity. So we're very gratified that that has happened. Construction projects of this size are a long time in the birthing. It's worth noting that we've had the strong support of our board all the way through this very unusual project. This sort of project is not the sort of project that housing associations do. It's not the sort of project that homelessness agencies do. And by and large, the philanthropic sector, while they build libraries and halls and auditoriums and universities and do all sorts of magnificent things all around our community in the arts, in education, in culture, and in welfare, let me be clear. But rarely do we see a bricks and mortar project that is kicked off by the generosity of the philanthropic sector, and that's what we've seen here. And we have now raised millions of dollars, millions. This is very unusual. We're going to spend around about $7.5 million by the time we finish and have this Sydney Myer Haven project up and operational, and we're going to change people's lives. And we're very excited about doing that. So that's a big thing. So one of the other things, of course, that is very, very important is to understand what your customer is doing. And the Department of Human Services, who are our main customer, who purchase many of our services on behalf of their and our clients, they've changed their operating footprint. The North Division, led by a great friend of Haven Home Safe, Jan Snell, it has a footprint that is much larger than the footprint we had geographically. That created some challenges for us. We like to be close with our customers. We like to know what it is they want, and we like to be able to deliver that and deliver it in spades. So, we had a conversation with one of our partner organisations, North East Housing Services, based in Preston. Now, we love North East Housing Services. We liked them so much, we actually had them managing a large amount of our housing stock in the metropolitan area. And North East Housing Services, their board, they're led very capably by their CEO, Hello Home, has come to a decision that their future and ours are not only linked, but better if we were to join together. So North East Housing Services is now Haven Home Safe. And so we've extended our footprint, we've extended our geography, we've extended our services, and we now offer essentially the same service from Melbourne to Mildura, right across that North Division. And we welcome the former North East Housing staff to our first combined annual stakeholders meeting. It's just a joy, I've got to tell you, it's such a joy to have this merger come across, to see this very excited group of staff join us, and I hope over time that we'll get, if we haven't already, that we'll get staff satisfaction levels to the same levels that we have across the rest of this organisation, because the thing we know about North East Housing Services staff, who are now ours, and our Haven Home Safe staff, is that we're all on a mission. We're on a mission to do something to help people. That's very important to us, and that is the big thing. So here I am sitting in the office, a piece of infrastructure that we've built to accommodate our workforce and make sure that when our clients come in the door, there's somewhere decent for them to be received. This is an important part of what we do. It reminds me that, looking at the backdrop of Bendigo before with some of the infrastructure that was in place 150 years ago, that was a result of some people who had some vision about what a city should look like, and there was public and private infrastructure. But when you look out around that backdrop, you don't see much new infrastructure. There's our building, there's the Bendigo Bank building, there's not a lot else, just quietly. So the role of government, the role of the Commonwealth, is to facilitate a good society, a fair society. 12 months ago we were looking at a new federal government coming in. We've now seen the colour and the tenor of this Commonwealth government, and we've seen them wage warfare on welfare. What we've seen is an unprecedented approach to penalising those who are most disadvantaged in society generally. It's important sometimes to context things in world terms, to get some perspective. Australia already has, prior to the new Commonwealth government, Australia has one of the meanest welfare systems in the OECD, second only to America. I think we've now beat them. I'm not sure that's something we should be proud of. So we have great fears, and we look with some trepidation to what changes might still come our way on behalf of the people that we work with. This warfare on welfare is not, I think, what the average Australian voted that government in for. But I guess that's not for me to say, and that's for the ballot box in the future. But it reminds me that we are looking down the barrel now, 1 week out, as our annual stakeholders meeting is held from the state election. And there is a remarkable degree of silence from both Labor and the Liberal National Party coalition on their views about what they're going to do to house their constituents in their electorates, who are apparently so important to them. So this is the 20th report that I've done to the stakeholders of the successive names of the organisations that are now Haven Home Safe. The dimensions and scale of the report change every year. We've had 20 almost successive years of meteoric growth in many senses. Our mission remains the same. Our ability to service it changes. It's changed for the better. We've seen a great many people come in and out of the sector over 20 years. Everybody's done their bit, and it's allowed us to get, I think, to where we are now, which is an organisation with a balance sheet that our Treasurer will delight you with when he does his presentation, with now 150 staff spread across more than 10 office locations around the state. But most importantly, we've housed thousands of people over those 20 years permanently. We've housed many, many more thousands of people temporarily, which is better than not housing them at all. But the main game, wherever possible, is to get people permanently housed, and we can all who've taken part in this journey can take some satisfaction on that. So that's my 20 years. I was ambushed by a number of Bendigo's former and current parliamentarians and various others on the anniversary date, which was a great hoot, really. It was an enormous fun for everybody in the audience except the one person who didn't know what was going on, which was me. So thank you, Sue Masters, for that. But it's also another anniversary of sorts too. We're now 10 years in on the journey of the Affordable Housing Association model. That kicked off with a policy change by the Victorian government in 2004 when they released a strategy paper called the Strategy for Housing Low-Income Victorians. You'd be struggling to think of a more imaginatively titled document, frankly. That kicked off and we got funding for 100 houses. But then ministers changed, government priorities changed, and that would have been it. And 10 years later, we would have been content with our 100 houses. But along came nation building and renewing activity in the economy. If it wasn't for the nation building and jobs plan, we would not have seen the next 1,000 properties that we have effectively delivered. So that's really what's got us to a significant size, but that was more accidental in a sense than anything else. The real challenge for us and the challenge for government is what do they do now with the fact that they cannot meet their housing demands for their own constituents, the people in their electorates that they tell us they value so much. So let's see where government takes us next. Looking ahead, the next 12 months, as with every other 12-month period, I guess, that we look ahead, there will be some challenges, but there's some great opportunities too. The Department of Human Services are changing the way that they do their business, and that's created opportunities for organisations like us with the new Services Connect model. It's a very different way of operating. It's actually more like the way we operate. And that's got to be a good thing, I think. It gives us an opportunity to create new partnerships, more deeper and richer partnerships with the people we work with and other service providers. So very positive that this will be a significant new, better way of doing business. We're very much looking forward to developing that Services Connect model. We are hoping to see some change with the way that the State Housing Department, well, it's not really a department anymore, it's been absorbed by DHS, but the office, what used to be the Office of Housing, we're very keen to see how they intend to reinvigorate their future, because frankly at the moment public housing is not in a good place. It hasn't been for decades, but it's been getting progressively worse. We need to see some change there. There are housing associations that are ready to move on this, and we're one of them. In terms of the strategic plan for the organisation, the Board of Directors have again approved and worked on and finessed a strategic plan that takes us out for initially 3 to 5 years, but we've also started now with the board to look at a 10-year plan to get a much clearer view of what we think our organisation will look like in a decade's time. I'm thrilled about that. I usually have in the back of my head where I think we're going. But at the end of the day, it's the board's organisation. They're the decision makers. They determine, as the owners of the company, on behalf of this broader community, where we go. We're very fortunate we've got a board that is engaged, that is talented, and that is committed. That's a pretty rare thing in the NGO sector. Usually 1 out of 3 ain't bad. We've got 3 out of 3. I'm pretty happy with the structure that we've got, the strategy that we're embarked upon, and the board who are guiding and supporting us on this journey. So all in all, we're not doing too badly.